Trailer Island Podcast. Yes, that's right. It's another episode of the Trailer Island Podcast. And it's just another week on another Wednesday where we compare films and their trailers. Did the film deliver what the trailer promised?
Indeed.
And that's kind of what we do
on
this podcast. This week we're doing quite the emotional journey.
Oh, I'm already tearing up just thinking about this movie. It really gets me. It really does.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by
Matthew.
Oh, it's Steve. There's a dog in here. I'm just a bit distracted.
That's fair enough. Not the dog. Not referencing who our guest is, but
The worst segue ever.
is that there is a dog in the room with us on the beach. But we do have another guest with us. We've got a guest on the beach with us on the island this week.
It's so refreshing having someone other than you two to talk to.
It is very refreshing. As a matter of fact, it's my wife.
Is this where I get to talk?
Yes, we're joined by Prue.
Yeah.
It's a new voice.
Good evening.
We thought, given that we're doing such an emotionally cool, driven film, that we would have a female touch.
What is this, one of your favourite films, is it, Prue? Or do you just like it a fair bit?
Yes, it would have to be. I have a lot of favourite films, so it's. But it's fair to say that's definitely up in my top 50.
Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's a badge of honour, top 50.
Just so you know, I have like over 350 DVDs. In
What
my
was your opinion on Mortal Engines?
Oh well, if we're talking about Mortal Engines,
No, we will be here forever, I think.
Let's start this podcast off on a good note.
Yes, well, this film came out in 2013.
Is this technically a bit of a
I think, Prue, do you know what that means if a film is a few years old?
ooh, this is my favourite part.
Oh, is it?
I get to have a time tug.
It's the time tug.
I wish my dad was Brendan Gleeson.
Oh, I love the captain.
Oh, thank you, Captain. We appreciate your input.
I'm worried about him, but he seems to be all right.
He's recovered from cancer. He's doing quite well.
Oh wow!
He recovered from cancer.
Look, I was just going to make some kind of alcoholism joke, but yeah, we'll go straight to
He's
cancer.
a sailor. He had skin cancer.
Oh my lord, this is quite a tragic. Well, I'm glad he's recovered.
Yeah.
We are developing the lore very quickly about the things that happen on this island.
It fits. It fits.
Yeah, if the shoe fits.
As long as it's a happy ending.
Who wants to introduce this film?
I think we should let Prue do it, being
Yeah.
a special
Prue.
guest this week.
What
Right.
is the film
Thank
that
you
we're
very
doing this week?
This week we are doing About Time.
My name is Tim, and this is the year that would change my life forever.
Happy New Year!
I just didn't know it yet.
Tim, my dear son, this is going to sound strange, but there's this family secret that the men in the family can travel in time.
This is such a weird joke.
It's not a joke,
If it's true, which it isn't,
although it is.
but if it was, which it's not,
Which it is.
how would I actually...
You go into a dark place, clench your fists, think of the moment you're going to, and you'll find yourself there.
It's going to be a complicated year.
It's going to be a complicated life.
For me, it was always going to be all about love. I'm Tim.
I'm Mary.
It's my mother's name.
I remind you of your mother.
Obviously, I should have thought this through more. Could you give me 1 second? I'm Tim.
I'm Mary.
I love your eyes.
Do you?
I love the rest of your face, too. Haven't even looked further down, but I'm sure it's all fantastic. I'm sure it'll be better next time.
Well done. Some people make a real mess of it the first time.
Amateurs. Some days you want to relive forever. Will you marry me?
I think I'll go for yes.
Some days you only want to live once.
I am so uninterested in a life without your father.
It never occurred to me that I might lose you.
I never said you could fix everything. Not without consequences.
It's so good to see you.
We've never met before.
Oh no. What do I do?
You have to use it to make your life the way you want it to be.
I never know what the future holds, just like everyone else.
Time catches up to all of us, my son.
My dad. try to live every day as if it was the final day of my extraordinary, ordinary life.
I hope I see you again.
You will. My whole life depends on it.
I don't know if I like that trailer.
Me neither.
Oh, really?
I think this film has so much heart and so many genuine surprises in it that trailer ruins quite a few of them, in my opinion.
Feels a little sticky, typical.
It definitely doesn't do the film justice, in my opinion.
I mean,
No.
would you say that it's a trailer that's targeted towards, say, the American audience?
Possibly. It's definitely doing the, hey, this is another, British rom-com because Love Actually did quite well. And I think there's...
When they actually twist a lot in that trailer, so things that look like happen at the time happen at a different time.
Yeah, there's
and
quite
all
a bit
that
of
kind stuff.
manipulation going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
I finally get to ask this question because we have a woman here. Does this trailer feel more targeted to a women's audience?
Oh wow, that puts a lot of pressure on me to be,
Can you
A
speak
woman?
for all women?
stand for the entire female sex. But look, I would probably.
She said sex.
Oh, there'll be more of that.
Yay!
We're learning all kinds of words.
You guys have been quite bored on this island. Huh?
What's
You
the
have
fallopian tube?
We are clearly here with some inexperienced men. Anyway, I I would say yes, probably more targeted towards women because I mean you have to admit that rom-coms, they're mainly targeted towards women no matter what.
But having said that I felt like watching this movie, it's a pretty wide audience they're sort of playing to in this.
I agree. Like I think,
Cast a wider net, I think.
which is why I feel like this particular trailer was maybe cut for a particular audience. So I'm sure there are a million other trailers because there's always like a million trailers for one film that may obviously target a wider group of people, such as menfolk. But I would say that they would definitely think this film, the majority of their earnings and things would come from women who want to go see this, and they would end up dragging along their boyfriends, partners, husbands, and their husbands would actually love it and then tell all their guy mates, and that's how that sort of happens.
But
So
I'm
I guess
glad
what
you
triggers.
I'm glad you brought that up because if I saw that trailer, I wouldn't go and see the movie. But I know that all three of us blokes love this film.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps again, like you're saying, it's sort of they'll take their partners along with them if they are targeting the female audience. But I think they may have done themselves a disservice, I think, because I didn't go to the cinema to see this because I wasn't excited about it. I only saw it once I was forced to watch it by mum and dad. I thought, this film's incredible. I can't believe I didn't go and see it.
I think that was my situation too.
But I think if you look at these kinds of films, because you can't deny what it is a romantic comedy. So no matter how they publicize it or anything like that, it's always going to be a romantic comedy. So how would you actually promote this so that guys would go, you know what? I want to go see this romantic comedy despite it
I think you would
potentially
focus.
emasculating me.
You'd probably focus more on his superpower, which is turning back time and taking advantage of it, which he does in the film.
Yeah, and his relationship with his dad, I would suggest.
Yeah, but then that again wouldn't represent what the film is.
No, it wouldn't.
That's
its
targeting
heart.
the male audience. I think this is well and truly a film for couples. Like, how do you advertise to couples is a completely question that has not been cracked whatsoever.
You'd probably advertise to the women who take their partners along.
What we like to say is that Richard Curtis has obviously, with this movie, gotten a lot of people laid.
I think Richard Curtis has probably been responsible for a lot in the past.
Say, yes.
He's come a long way since Blackadder.
What else has he done? We know him from Notting Hill. Love Actually.
Did he write Four Weddings and a
He
Funeral?
wrote Four Weddings and a Funeral. He's
worked with Rowan Atkinson a fair bit the olden days.
Yeah. He is best known for his romantic comedies because of those really strong British romantic comedies that have done so well. But he also did The Boat That Rocked.
I still haven't seen that.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I think that's probably not as critically acclaimed as a lot of his other stuff.
Right, okay.
But that has a lot. That's actually a very father-son strong narrative in that too.
Yeah.
Plus, it has Bill Nye and
Nick Frost.
Bill Nye is such a great actor. I'm glad.
It's hard to go wrong with Bill Nye, I think.
Well, he clearly likes working with Richard Curtis because he's been in a few of his films now.
Yeah, quite.
And he's been good in all of them.
What else is there?
He also more recently did Yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
That is he has an obsession with the Beatles, doesn't he?
a
A little bit. Yeah.
I do think it's disappointing that he's sort of sworn off directing though.
Well, it's
since this film.
Yeah, I think it's funny that when Love Actually, I think they did a special edition release, and I have that there's a good documentary. And Richard Curtis says on that he made Love Actually because he had so many rom-com ideas. He wanted to make Love Actually so he could put it to bed and move on to other stuff. And he has not. He just keeps making them. But he's really good at them. I don't know how he does it.
Did he direct About Time?
Yes.
Yeah, and he directed Love Actually as well. But
it varies though. He tends to. Yeah, he's usually the screenwriter, and then occasionally he'll direct the films.
I've seen other rom-coms and they're good, but there's an element to all of his films that I've seen, and it's very elusive. It's like just a big warm hug.
There's a sense of heart that you can pick it that is across all of those films, and I don't know where that comes from, but whether that is it's so ingrained in sort of the Britishness of the films that perhaps we as Australians sort of have a more of an understanding of over, say, if these films were an American film.
Well, England is the mother country.
And, whether American rom-coms always seem to sort of lack that sense of depth that these people are real.
Well, I mean,
there's definitely an authenticity about British rom-coms.
Well, there's sort of like an honesty about the British way of... I mean, Matthew, you're sort of that orientation. Explain how.
Explain what? That was a very vague question. What do you mean?
Explain how British works.
Where does that sense of heart that we think we're feeling, that you're like this wholesomeness that you're feeling, that I feel like...
I mean, a lot of it is aesthetic, and you think of this film in particular, it is all shot in lovely locations. Like the family house is by the sea. It's a beautiful house. Richard Curtis, especially in this film and some of his other films, it's kind of like going on holiday, which other rom-coms don't have.
Yeah, okay.
It's sort of like it is hard to explain.
I actually felt you sort of hit the nail on the head when you were describing Love Actually, in that Richard Curtis had a bunch of ideas, right? And these are all things he wanted to see on screen. Okay, it wasn't like a star vehicle or anything like that. It was just these are ideas he wanted to see on screen. Okay, and great examples come after Love Actually, in that you get like the movie New Year's Day, and then New Year's Eve, and then Valentine's Day, which are essentially the same format as Love Actually, but they don't have the heart, because it is literally all those movies are doing are star vehicles for the celebrities in them.
Right, yeah, okay, sure.
It's an absolute genuine quality to the storytelling.
Everyone wants to be there, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Everyone's loving their time on screen. And it's a few years old, we are going to talk about it. This film always makes me cry. It has such heart, but it's such a stab in the gut.
Yeah, well, see, now usually we rewatch Time Tug films to sort of reorientate ourselves with them. I didn't rewatch this. I refused to watch it again because I did not want to go through the emotional journey that this film puts you on.
I'm glad I rewatched it because I went and saw it in the cinema. I haven't seen it since then.
Okay. I would have seen this film 3 or 4 times.
I got the time travel rules wrong. So when I saw it in the cinema, I assumed that Tim couldn't go back in time any further than his baby being born. Like, that's the limitation of it. And that's not the case. Like, it's a more character-driven circumstance. It's that if he does travel further back than like his baby being born, he will change the baby.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's a lot more concrete. That's a lot more solid in terms of storytelling. That is,
they can do what they want, but there are consequences. Which is as presented in the trailers, as his dad says. I never said that there weren't going to be consequences for your actions. Now, the plot of this is that our character Tim discovers that he has a family trait that he can travel back in time. He just needs to head into a cupboard or a dark space, squeeze his hands, and he can think back to the moment, and boom, it works.
I love how quickly the film goes, we accept that, and we're going to move on now. Like, they don't make a big deal out of it.
You can just do it, and it's not like you're a superhero. You don't need to wear a cape doing this. You can just do it. And there you go. That's the story drive thing.
He doesn't do anything exciting with it. Pretty stock standard.
Which is that pretty British then? Is he just like, I've got this superpower. I might make my tea a bit warmer.
Well, you know, that I feel that the reason they've done this is time travel in film is fraught with danger. I really struggle with it because there are always so many holes in the story. And I, for one, am a massive on story. You know, the script has to be tight to be a good script to make a good movie. So for me, you know, it's almost nerve-wracking to see a time-traveling film knowing that there could be a hole that sort of destroys the entire film, like I found with Looper. But we won't go into that.
That's a whole nother conversation.
but what I love is, and you could say it's the British way or whatever, is that there were some really strict rules around this particular type of time travel where it's like he can't travel back, you know, what was the thing? You can't travel back and kill Hitler. Or sleep with Cleopatra. You know, it's you can only go back to where you know you've been in your life, what you remember. You're going back to your memories. And that they can't travel forward in time, which also then cuts out this whole bad bit that could go very, very wrong. They sort of restricted it so much, it was just perfect. You know, you didn't have to ask questions. You didn't have to analyze it too much. You could just accept that that's
and
how
you do. As an audience member, you do immediately accept, don't you? So, okay, cool, he can do this. And it's a good little bit of suspension of disbelief. And also just the performances of Bill Nye and, is it Domhnall
Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson. It's just their performance during that scene where he finds out about it. Is like it's the disbelief from the son and Bill Nye sort of going, like, you don't believe me now, but you're going to go and try it, and then you'll come back, and it just plays off really nicely.
Yeah,
they don't make it's not like Superman, in the Tobey Maguire film, doing all the montage and of him climbing up buildings.
Did you just say the Superman?
Sorry, Spider-Man. Right. Sorry, my mistake. They all blur into one. Yeah. But I do like how they just sort of shrug it off, going, But it was just fantastic the way, and again, I feel this is very Richard Curtis, where it's the dialogue that they have, the banter between each other, it shows the relationship between these two characters, that conversation. So if this is true, which is not, but it is, and it's just this constant, it doesn't feel scripted. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. No, yeah, that does.
And so I think that adds just so much more oomph to this film and to the characters and to their relationships and stuff.
Can I just say the sociopath in me was saying, oh, so they can go back before the birth of their child and the child's just going to be different? Just go back and that's fine.
You're a disappointment. I'm going back in time.
Why does that matter?
You're definitely...
I can spend more time with my dad. I don't care about these kids. They've just been born. I don't know you yet.
Well, don't worry about it. We'll make new memories.
Clearly, Steve, you don't have children.
Like I said, it's just the sociopath in me.
Actually, talking of sociopaths, so I'm
here, yes.
Am I the only one that says sociopaths?
Oh, I was only saying because that's how he said it, and I didn't want to be ridiculed for being different. I say sociopath. As
okay,
well,
so it's Steve that is wrong.
I say monster.
Talking as someone who is currently single, I still find, for me, the best element is still the father-son relationship. Yeah. For me, that's sort of what speaks to me so much. I also love Tom Hollander's character he plays a writer, and he's just there for laughs, but every time he has me just in fits of laughter. It's obviously the script and the performance, but I don't know if I should, but I see so much of myself in just his kind of... he's kind of like my internal monologue, but he just says what he's thinking. It's very funny.
I don't mean to disagree with you, but I believe he's actually one of the most pivotal characters.
Yeah?
Because you think he met Mary, his love interest. He met her on this beautiful date. They hit it off. It was absolutely incredible. He comes back, completely happy with himself and just so unbelievably, he's just...
Which again, the sociopath in me is going, just take the date and don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, instead, because he's, such a good person.
Oh, yeah,
Tim goes to, what's his name?
The Tom Hollander's character's
Yeah.
name. I don't know.
His name is Tom Hollander.
He's had a terrible, terrible night at the opening night of his play, because he's a playwright. One of the lead actors just completely forgets all his lines, and it's an absolute disaster. Tim can't help but want to help him. So he goes back in time and doesn't go to this particular very interesting restaurant, which I kind of want to try out one time, which is...
Apparently this thing is a real restaurant as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You just sit in the dark.
Yeah.
It's really nicely done.
It is.
Tom Hollander plays Harry.
Harry.
I was going to say Neil for some reason.
Just and talking about characters, I think there's something about the characters that get put into films like this that just sort of pull at your heartstrings and cuddle it at the same time. But Uncle D, the character,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I have a fan theory about him.
Oh.
I do.
Oh, here we go.
I think that he is aware of the time traveling going on. He knows what's going on, and he has such difficulty like keeping track of what's going on. That's why he's so absent-minded all the time.
that he's aware of all the timelines at the same time or something.
Yeah, he's like
Oh,
this
that's
ubermensch
interesting.
that's like existing across several dimensions, and it's just one consciousness, and he's witnessing all these events at the same time, and he just cannot fathom it.
That is
Well, like me,
I
To rewatch this movie immediately.
I am buying into that 100%.
Yeah, that's great.
That works. That's
And
amazing.
that's why Bill Nighy married the other girl, because he knew that Uncle D was this all-powerful, all-seeing God. And it's like, okay, I better have this person in my back corner.
Huh.
Fair
Well,
enough.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a conspiracy theory I can get behind.
So the characters that are sort of these lovable characters, you just want to give them a big hug. You feel like they're the kind of people that you would see in real life, and you'd be like, I want to give you a hug.
They do feel real.
I don't think they do feel real.
No?
The whole subplot with the sister, I feel, is too easily glossed over. Like, he goes back and tries to take her back in time and change things that way, and obviously that changes the child that Tim has. And so the other thing they try is they go to the hospital room where she's just recovering from her crash, and they sit there with her, and that's it. And then she changes.
Well, Steve, you do have to realise that isn't real life, and there is only, a 2-hour film that they can do this in.
Yeah, I know.
They do have to compress certain things.
I know, but it comes to my main criticism of this film, and that is that the time travel element, maybe even the characters themselves, aren't pushed super hard. And I understand that's because it's a romantic comedy, but I feel like everyone in this film has a way too easy life.
I mean, we have characters who are dying of cancer and
that's fine. He gets a wonderful final memory with his son and gets to relive like the child years as well.
Spoiler warnings to anybody who
Hasn't
Steve.
seen this 7-year-old film. I'll try and go back in time and erase that.
actually,
No, it's fine.
in Steve's defense, that is actually in the trailer.
It is.
And that's what annoys me, is they put that plot point about the dad having cancer in the trailer of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they kind of make it look like he's the one that has a car accident.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But then they have the line, the mum says, living without your father, and
I can't imagine a life without your father.
a life without your father, and
That could have
kills
been
me.
past.
maybe.
You know what's really interesting for me is I cry every single time of this film, but I seem to vary at which point I cry.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll cry, I'll just absolutely burst into tears in that last moment with the father and son where they go back to that moment. Last night when I watched it I was absolutely bawling my eyes out on my own, just, watching this solo because my husband doesn't want to watch it again.
Completely abandoned her. How'd the film go? It's just too much.
And seriously, I lost it just at that moment when he got the phone call. So it was when, that there's that really tense moment because their daughter's just shredded up a manuscript that his wife was having to, I think she's a reader. She's not a copywriter or anything, is she? So, you know, and it was she was going to this big meeting and all this kind of stuff, and so it was just this absolute disaster. He was trying to go back in time because he wanted to fix it, but she wouldn't let him out the room because they had to like decide what to do there, and it was this sort of really tense moment. And then the phone call happens, and you just instantly know, something really bad has just happened. And I think I would say, because I have experienced that a fair bit in my life, is that you have that. You have that when there's a bad phone call, and you know when your other half or your family member or a friend or whatever has answered a phone call that is...
changes the mood of the room instantly.
Yeah, and it did that so well that I just knew something so bad had happened. And plus, I have seen this movie quite a few times, so I knew exactly what was coming. But you know, it made me cry then and there. And then obviously they go to the house, and then there's that father-son embrace there, and all of that. That to me was actually more emotionally draining. You know, it was a very poignant moment, and I felt more so than that going back in time point.
Which is why I'm surprised Richard Curtis doesn't want to direct anymore, because it does take skill to really do that sort of thing, to change the mood of a room that fast and then change the movie itself on its head within the space of 20 seconds. And he does that really, really, really well, and not just in a script sense, in terms of a cinematography sense as well. Who's the enemy in this film?
Well, that's what I like about this, is it doesn't have a specific villain.
Probably time.
I would suggest, because he's running out of time with his dad, and well, no, I mean, is it more a thematic antagonist in this, which is learn to appreciate what it is that you've got, which is his character arc in the film. Is he says in the end he doesn't really travel back anymore. He just sort of lives the best life that he
appreciates
can. Lives every day the best way that he
Which
can.
I do not believe in a heartbeat. I'm like, there's been a
couple of arguments that were then,
You could look at the night's lotto numbers, go back a few hours, and improve your life dramatically on the spot.
And why wouldn't you?
This guy accidentally forgot he parked in a certain place, got a parking ticket, and he got back into a cupboard, and he's like, all right, I'll go back on time and not get the parking ticket. He did that. He absolutely did that.
No, fair enough. But I think the antagonist is, or maybe not antagonist, but definitely the theme of this is, if you had that ability, would you use it? Like, it's a cautionary tale, I think, perhaps.
Is there anything behind the whole thing of not telling anyone that you can do this?
That one, I think, is just because I guess they don't want the word getting to the CIA, so they get captured and experimented on, I guess.
That is, okay, yeah.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was always, there's always that stress and tension of, do they lose the ability if someone else finds out?
Yeah.
Well, he did it, his sister found out.
This feeds into my Uncle D theory again. If they found the time travelers, they find Uncle D. They find Uncle D. They find a living god.
We must protect him.
We must protect Uncle D at all costs.
You know, one of my favourite things about him is just that moment at the very beginning of the film where they're on the beach having tea, as they do every night, and he's reading on the deck chair that just very slowly falls backwards. And he's like, what? And it's like, oh dear, I seem to be falling.
Oh, now I want to watch it again. That's annoying now.
Do it.
It shows just a normality. It's like, you know what? That happens to everyone.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's certainly something about it that there's this normal way of life that you can feel like you're a part of. Like the American rom-coms are always these people living in Manhattan in these huge apartments and like, I've got so much money, but my life is just destroyed by love. And, they have all these problems and stuff.
And it's always, boy meets girl, there's a conflict, they break up, something happens, they redeem each other or themselves or whatever, and then they're back together.
Girl forgets bad things that boy does because boy did nice big gesture, therefore everything is now fine.
Which does not happen in real life.
No.
But what I love is in this film, and it is so refreshing because not very many films do it, is where there's not actually a real conflict. It's a real relationship between two people, that there's not this, I don't know, horrible conflict that, he looked at a girl funny, or, it's a real relationship. And I love that in all these amazing relationships in this film, none of them were actually compromised in any way, really.
Oh, I would disagree wholeheartedly there.
There is the sister.
I think if Mary ever found out he could travel through time, I think she would be so shattered.
And that's probably why you never tell people that you travel back in time.
But if like, imagine being married though, and you find out that your husband is a time traveler. Like, how do you go? Oh,
Actually,
no.
yeah.
It was definitely genuine moments throughout a whole relationship. He never ever traveled through time to sort of course correct anything. It would be like,
I do wonder about the ethics of it a little bit.
yeah.
Is that another, or do we suspend our disbelief about that and just appreciate
Well,
it?
see, I wonder about this thing because sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
no. I was just going to say, I think the whole film is sort of assuming people aren't going to ask that question.
But I feel like they covered that with the fact that originally he met her, right? So he's just going back to find her again. It's not to manipulate her or anything
That's
like
true.
that. You know, it's he's getting what he originally had, but he had to do this good thing for a family friend who apparently didn't even like his father.
If you had a really good meal, you would just keep having it, wouldn't you? You'd keep going back. When you finish a good meal and go, I wish I could eat that again.
Do you think you'd get fat?
I don't know.
Well, if you go back in time, you haven't eaten that meal, have you?
Yeah.
You could just keep doing it.
Just
That'd be
reliving
great.
the
Oh,
pleasure.
Could I play devil's advocate? I don't think that Tim changes for 2/3 of this movie. Like, I think the character change that Domhnall Gleeson actually makes happens within the first 20 minutes of the film, and he doesn't change for the rest of the film.
oh, he does at the end.
I think as soon as he learns that he's a time traveler, he's already got that appreciation of the day. I think the dialogue that Bill Nighy has with him explaining time travel it instills him with instant, I've got to appreciate the day.
I think he gets better at it as the film goes on.
You can
personally.
make that argument, yeah.
Yeah, I will make that argument, Steve.
I will allow it.
Thank you. That's very good of you.
I'll join in with Matt on that too. I think it takes time.
I'll allow it.
Well, it is about time.
Yes, and do we know what that title means? About time.
I think
It's just a pun.
I think it just works really well in a trailer.
Okay, all right.
I think it sells the movie.
I think this is a really good example of the trailer or the film being better than the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which we don't, I mean, a lot of the time it's just representative and it works quite well. In this example, the trailers, actually Skyfall was another example where the trailer was a bit lame and the film is phenomenal.
Yeah.
How many people out there, not necessarily just men, but particularly men, would love the opportunity that the first time they sleep with someone and they get it not quite right, can go back in time and do it again.
Yes. I would definitely have that banana beforehand to avoid cramps. Also, bring water.
Sometimes you get a bit peckish. You might want a snack. Yeah.
Halfway through,
Halfway
just a pit
through.
stop, just hang on a sec.
Oh, sorry, just give me a moment.
For my cracker and cheese.
Need to top up just for a moment.
Just got to get myself a cup of tea.
Some biscuits. Would you like some? No, I think yes is probably the answer. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of women probably think that too.
Well, we wouldn't know about that, would we?
So don't say vision is based on movement.
I have a question related to
Don't
this,
move.
but I'm going to go on a tangent first. If Bill Nighy travels back in time, he obviously travels back to a time where he doesn't have cancer, correct?
Okay.
So if we're talking about Tim makes love to Mary, right?
Yes.
Gets in the time machine, goes back. Does his refractory period stay the same as like a normal person would getting back into bed? Or because he's gone back in time,
I see what you mean.
biologically, as the refractory period reset?
Well, I think that would be a yes in terms of, because I mean, if you actually look at the scenes, the first time is like, I'm sure that'll be better next time.
Yeah.
To, oh my God, that was amazing. To now it's daytime and they're on the floor and they've clearly been going.
He does get tired though.
Yeah.
There's a joke where he goes, "Oh, really?" Again, it's like, "What do you mean? It's the first time." It's like, "Oh, of course it is."
Biologically speaking, really inconsistent time travel film.
I reckon. See, I think he'd go back in fully charged every time.
I do too.
I think this is another question that the film did not expect anyone to ask.
If Bill Nighy is going back with no cancer, he's going back with refractory period, like reset completely.
See, I figured
That's
that
a
Bill
bonus for
Nye
him.
couldn't go
Yeah.
back past the birth of his grandchild because in some way he's going to affect.
Well, no, because his because he explains it when
I never
they're in
quite
hospital.
understood the whole
He
cancer
says
thing.
That particular sperm at that particular moment to fertilize that particular egg. Remember, well, you probably don't because you didn't watch it last night. But that is what changes. Is that particular?
Yeah,
thing.
I understand that.
So Bill Nye can go back past his grandson because he's got nothing to do with the biological thing. It's his children that he had to do biologically with that particular thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering butterfly effect. You go back, you change one thing, and therefore
They actually mentioned the butterfly effect.
25 years later, that one little sperm is now different. I don't know.
But when he goes back to play with his son on the beach, doesn't that mean he's taken his son back before?
Yes, but
he's got all America.
They do mention they were like, let's just try not to do anything different.
See, when does he get cancer?
He didn't say specifically.
I think he's had cancer at the beginning. I think he has it at the beginning of the film.
So my understanding is like the whole thing is you don't want to change who your kids are.
Yeah.
Surely you can go back 25 years and say, I have this type of cancer. I guarantee you.
Well, no,
fix it.
He did explain that. He's like, I've tried so many times to catch it early, but no matter what, he's not been able to change that.
He just can't get it.
Yeah.
He just can't get that. That's the conversation he has with Tim when he
That's why it's
arrives at
tragic.
the house.
Right.
So no matter
That's why
how-
we cry.
Yes, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't
Work it out.
work it out. He couldn't be diagnosed any sooner. He couldn't have a
What
less
happens when? Can you prevent the death of someone then? Can Dougal Gleeson in his 60s go back with the scientific knowledge of that particular cancer, go back and go, this is the answer,
Well,
and
he
give him the
can't
answer?
because his
Good
child was born.
question.
Yeah, he has to say goodbye to his dad because he has a child, and he can't go back to see him.
Can
anymore.
he go back to the moment just after his child is born, and if Bill Nye's got 6 months ago, this will save you in 6 months. Hypothetical. We're also assuming time travel works in this, so I am asking a small amount of leverage here.
All right, okay.
Is that possible?
I
Not
think
in
you're
this
right.
film.
Are you asking whether, like, Domhnall Gleeson would sacrifice one child to go? No.
We know Steve would.
To live out his life, find the cure to cancer, and then go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I personally
thanks.
don't think that Richard Curtis has really thought through the sex mechanics. Sorry, the making love mechanics of About Time.
This has been a very long episode.
It has. Shall we do 5 out of 5 tumours or something?
I think this week is the time for bloated corpses.
Oh dear.
What's a good...
Ever-changing children.
Wardrobes?
refractory...
Which one?
Wardrobes?
Dark wardrobes.
Yeah.
Or just dark corners in general.
Dark corners.
Ooh, dark restaurants.
Cups of tea.
Cups of tea. I feel like cups of tea just works nicely for
Uncle
this.
D's.
Uncle omnipotent
Uncle D's.
He's multi-timeline.
multiverse Uncle D's.
Well, we can only have one of those because he's so special, so we can't.
That's
do
true. That's true.
That.
He
Yeah.
is across all dimensions.
Cups of tea. Let's do it.
All right. Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Can I also address that normally this is out of 15, but because we've allowed Prudence into the inner sanctum of our beachfront podcast,
Hello.
I guess it's out of 20 this week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to get my calculator out for this. I'm not going to be able to do the maths quick enough.
Ooh, lucky you changed that.
What if we rate it out of? Let me do the maths just real quickly. 4. No, it's not going. Sorry.
It's out of 5. We can just roll with
Yeah.
that. It's fine.
I love this movie. It gives me laugh, give me cry,
Good.
which we haven't said for a while. But it's just so warm and inviting. It's got heart. I love all the characters, and it's just so nice. Such a nice film. And yeah, I don't know why it's rated R. I can't remember off the there's a bit of foul language, but I wouldn't say it should be rated R.
Well, the trailer at the front of it said it was rated R.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm a
is
bit
it-
confused by that.
I would suggest it's like if you're watching it with your family, like 10 upwards would probably be okay. I would suggest.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, on my web search here, it's just M.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I thought it was.
So
Yeah.
that's very strange.
But anyway, this is a marvelous film. If you haven't seen it, do go and see it because it's just such a nice time. Such a nice time. I'm going to give it 4.5.
4.5. Prudence.
This is one of my favorites. It's definitely a classic for me. It goes in level with all the other amazing things Richard Curtis has done, in my opinion. So I'm not normally a softie, but this is definitely 5 for me. 5 cups of tea.
5 cups of tea from Prudence.
I get really teary-eyed throughout this film, but just due to the nature of me and my obsession with time travel as well, I can't help but pick apart some parts. I also think like there's just not enough like maybe going on throughout the whole film. Like it's just a pretty easy ride for all these characters. You know, it is a real happily ever after sort of ending. So I'll probably just solid 3. Solid 3.
I am going to don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know, the film makes me so emotional that I didn't want to watch it again. Therefore, it can't get 5, or can it get 5? I don't know.
Well, it doesn't mean it's doing. Well, no, it's not doing its job because you would want people to see your film, wouldn't you?
Films are meant to elicit emotion though, and you're feeling that emotion.
Yeah, and it works really well. So you know what? I'm just gonna go 5. Why not?
Right. Yeah.
Just because. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 17 and a half.
Yes.
Out of 20.
Yeah.
Our highest rating ever, but not our highest ratio rating ever.
So if you know what I mean. If people want to figure that out.
You've got to do it in percentage and then...
Yeah. Oh, well, solid 17 and a half out of 50.
If only we could go back in time and we could just correct that.
20. Yeah. Look, we've been the Trailer Island podcast. We were joined this week by Prue.
Yes, thank you, Prue.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to have you on the show.
Please bring food next time.
Hey, I fed you.
You fed me.
That's true.
She fed you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still hungry, but whatever.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And Matthew, you never take anything that I offer, so...
Oh.
Which is also true.
Yeah. Swings and roundabouts.
Look, we've been the Trailer Island podcast, and you can catch us every Wednesday from wherever you get your podcast, Google, Apple, whatever it may be. There's a website, trailerisland.com.au.
Yeah, that's correct.
You can send us an email, contact@trailerisland.com.au.
Please do.
There's a Facebook page, Matthew.
There is, which is now Trailer Island Podcast.
That's right.
You can contact us through there with any film suggestions. That'd be terrific.
Send us a message. Send us a voice clips, whatever you want. Prue was like, "Hey, can I be on the show?" We were like, "Yes." So if you'd like to be on the show, do we throw that out there?
I think so.
If you want to be on the show,
You just
send us
made
a
me
message.
feel like desperate.
No. We've been running out of content for a long time.
Does Alex not talk to you anymore?
No, he's a horrible husband.
I'm so sorry.
Oh dear. Well, we've been the Trailer Island podcast. This may be the last time you ever hear from me. We've been Trailer Island podcast. Good night. Good night. Ta-da.
Go home now.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.